This is awesome. I love how the drums lit up every time he hit them. Hey everyone, it's me Rosalie. Welcome back to the Ultimate World Music Reaction channel. Diving into something brand new today. We're going to check out a band called Kalandra. Kalandra. They are Norwegian Swedish musicians, and they have roots in melancholic Nordic folk and gritty guitars, weaving ethereal melodies into raw and eerie musical landscapes, according to bandcamp.com. I have no idea what to expect. You have been asking for me to check it out, so shout out to you who have been reminding me and faithfully, patiently waiting. Today's special shout out goes to Ultra Yahuwaifi. I hope I'm saying your username right. But thank you so much for buying me coffees, for suggesting that I check out Kalandra, Brave New World, and thank you to the rest of you who have been throwing that suggestion out here and there, patiently waiting for me to finally get to this band. I'm going to check out Brave New World live from Gildehallen at Bor in Norway. And I plan to also check out their song Borders, which was put out 2.5 million views, which was put out 2 years ago, over 2.5 million views. And I'll share that in a separate video if I get to it. But let's check it out. Here we go.
Close your eyes and see, ignore all the burdens that you keep. Come whatever might, they can never harm you Stirring sing through the wind, listen, it's a whisper from within.
I love the suggestions you bring to me, my friends, because it shows me that you understand this channel and what it's about, that you are getting a feel for what I would appreciate and love. And you guys have wonderful, phenomenal taste, so it says so much. Thank you. I'm going to try to contain myself. Her voice is out of this world. It is so, I think ethereal was a very good word that they used in this reference, in this description on kalandra.bandcamp.com. Absolutely just elements of folk, of course, yes. Melancholy, beauty, ethereal, raw, eerie, wonderful words to use. Her voice is so soothing, very just angelic, but phenomenal how she can do these runs and just walks, not even walks, glides up these ladders of notes up and down. And then the harmonies and the stacking that is coming in vocally, the build up in the with the musicians, with the instruments, even to now with the drums are coming in, the percussion elements, building a certain, from an emotional standpoint, y'all know we love going into that too. It creates, it already had this feeling of awe and reverence, right? But now with the rhythmic elements coming in, it adds elements of severity, right? Things are getting a little more intense, like you have to pay attention, you have to take this serious. And just the whole setup of this performance here, this live performance is just beautiful. But what I really love just now, when she was speaking of From Within, and she put her hand both on her chest and on her stomach, or her diaphragm possibly. And this was such a beautiful way to possibly showcase from within can mean both our heart, our instinct, right? All of us have different personality types. And depending on what personality type you have, or what model of wisdom you use to categorize said personality types, when you look at the Enneagram, right, different types may operate more from that headspace, right, a mind and thinking. You have those who are more emotional from the heart, if you will, and those who are more instinctually based. So to lay her hands like that is such an intimate, profound way, I feel, to showcase what we human beings are truly about. this beyond just, oh, from within or from within, right? It's a much more intimate but also much more profound way to say this is what's inside our soul, at our core. This is also where you would hold a child close, right? It's just a very beautiful gesture, but it just showcases her feeling and engaging with the music. Of course, these are my thoughts and interpretations, but it shows a level of just intimacy between what she's doing here. This is not a show. This is real musicians. How is there so much beauty constantly coming out of Norway and Sweden and all over the world? It's phenomenal. Hakuna mashizzle. Okay, let's keep going. Let me go back just a bit.
Listen, it's a whisper from within. Warnings from above, telling you to hear the morning
Oh.
waking from the dream, witnessing the smoke that's rolling in. The end is what you fear. The scent of ember lingers in the air. It's like a web there's no escape from. It's got you trapped and you long for freedom. Every wish, every dream is granted, never knowing what they demanded. See the wall, how it's getting higher. You want to fight, but you're all divided. It's not a world anyone can thrive in. Is this the world we were meant to grow in? Somebody tell me, where are we going? Brave new worlds we rise. If we do not act upon its light, hold your tongues no more. Learn from all the ones who came before. Catch the wind and fight the storm. Through the fury we're holding on. Take your time, but not too long. Make it worth the time you own. You want the fire inside of me. Find the flame and let it breathe. You want the fire inside of me, inside of me, inside of me.
This is awesome. I love how the drums lit up every time he hit them and just how they were all just working together so beautifully. The rhythmic strokes of the guitarist, the drums, the way that the lights would flash, the way that she felt the music and just knew exactly when what happens. They're good. It's amazing how much talent comes out of Norway. Katrin Stenbeck, I think she is with them since 2011, if I'm seeing correctly here. Jogir de Mailand, Florian Winter, Jogir Mailand. Is that the same guy? I'm not sure. And I guess, yeah. And Oscar Reit. Amazing. I really love what they're doing here. The lyrics are beautiful. Close your eyes and sleep. Ignore all the burdens that you keep. Come whatever may, they could never harm you anyway. Very comforting words. Steering's in the wind, resonates a whisper from within. Makes me think of this ship. Maybe I'm thinking Pocahontas too much, or explorers going to somewhere, a brave new world, right? Somewhere brand new. And my feelings or thoughts about that are twofold, or, well, more complex than that. But right on one hand, you think of explorers and a brave new world and those conquering through a new lens when you read and learn more about history and how it wasn't as romantic or pretty as we may think, right? A lot of suffering, both for those who were conquered and those who already were living in a land that was then taken by those who came and colonized the new lands, but then also bravery and suffering amongst those who tried to come into a new land, who left family, house, and home behind, who tried to find freedom and hope in a new land and broke into that. So there's both and, right? It's not all just black and white. There's suffering and hope and victory on both sides, but it's not as romantic and pretty as we may picture. There's a lot of suffering when you want to break into a brave new world. And so I have those dual feelings of, that what comes with that on all sides of the story, if you will. But then also when I think of Brave New World, I'm thinking of exploring things, of coming to terms with where we are at in our world right now. I'm thinking of where we are at right now, trying to cope with things that are happening around us, trying to find our place depending on the generation we live in and who we are and where we come from or how old we are, coming to terms with what's happening and how far do we embrace change and accept change and grow and learn to embrace and include, and what way do we stand with certain values, and how far do we say, wait a minute, this is welcome, this is not, this is okay, this is not, some changes are good, some are bad. It's this dance, ever changing, both as individuals, as families, and smaller units, on a macro level, as societies, as a globe. But it's constantly changing, and a brave new world implies something of courage, something of fresh beginnings, but it also implies sacrifice and risk. And so there's all these thoughts that I have, and so I read things like comfort here. Close your eyes, ignore the burdens you keep. Steering's in the wind, right? It makes me think of something's happening, something's moving. Resonates a whisper from within. Okay, something happening outside, something happening from within. Warnings from afar telling you to heed the morning star. A morning star being something that guides us, that we're following to reach the promised land, to reach a savior, to reach hope, to reach that brave new world, perhaps. Waking from the dream, witnessing the smoke that's rolling in. The end is what you fear. The scent of embers lingers in the air. This duality of hopefulness, steerings, comfort, sleep, don't worry, but also waking from said dream, right? Going to a place of peace and quiet, not having to worry about your stress, but waking up and witnessing that smoke and witnessing the reality. And it's a very poetic way of talking about that, I feel, of both the beauty and hopefulness of that brave new world and those whispers and that contrast between what's going on within versus what's happening from afar, but also the warnings and then waking up to that smoke, realizing sacrifices involved here, suffering, embers lingering, things that were burnt down. Those who came to colonize, those who came to conquer, it didn't just all come peacefully, though some did, some didn't. There was burning, there was fire, there was suffering. There was those such as Native Americans who lost land, who suffered. And there was also those, including Native Americans and the Europeans, who caused a lot of suffering. And so there's this, again, that duality of both the dreams, the hopes, the brave new world that isn't all that brave, right? It's brave to step out into a new world, to not know what's ahead. But it's also often fueled by fear when we then respond with violence, we respond with division, and we respond with territorialism, and this is mine and this is yours, and I will take what's yours, and what's yours is mine, right? It shifts from brave to, is that really true courage? Is that really the new world we want? Is that really the right new beginning? Is that the way to start anew? So in a way, to me, a very poetic way of dealing with some of these contrast that we perceive when we talk about the brave new world and conquering a new land. Again, I'm losing a lot of references to the Europeans coming over to America and North America, Native Americans, North Americans, and Columbus and the like, because it makes me think of Pocahontas and the brave new world and the whole new world. But at the same time, I think on a micro level, we can take that more personally, because all of us are faced with everyday changes, with new beginnings, with, again, coming to terms with the world that we're in and the changes happening. How much do we accept? How much do we decline? Where do we need to grow and accept and be willing to change? Where do we need to be careful that unhealthy change doesn't come in? Not all change is good. Not all things should be welcomed with arms wide open. But which is that? Which should be? And so there's a lot of questions that become important to ask. But on a micro level, even personally, we will deal with change all our life, just by nature of being human and facing death. And so there is again, for lack of a better word, this dance of understanding that it will take bravery and courage, that there is a new world we're stepping into every day. We've never lived this day before. You may be facing grand changes with career, with your relationships, when it comes to your family, when it comes to your own creations and the way that you want to propel your existence into the world around you. But then at the same time, it's everyday choices. Simply waking up is a new day, a brave new world that we've never done before. We've never lived this life before. The day that this is being released has never happened before. The age you are and the number of days and hours that you have lived up until this point, you have never lived before. So it's very unique, and it requires bravery and an understanding of both of those things, both the whispers and the peace and the dreams, as well as waking up and experiencing that smoke. The bridge also very poetic. It's like a web. There is no escape from it. It's got you trapped it's got you trapped and you long for freedom. So again, that duality. You're trapped by something, but you long to be free. You long for the opposite, to not be trapped, to be free. Every wish, every dream was granted, never knowing what they demanded. Right? You get what you want. The other parties maybe not knowing what is being demanded here. You see the wall, how it's getting higher. You want to fight, but you're all divided. This really, to me, makes me constantly think of the story of Pocahontas, of Columbus, of the Europeans coming over, of the suffering of the Native Americans, of both that struggle with having a dream, right? Many Europeans were not just coming here evil-hearted, looking for destruction, though many perhaps were. There were also those who came here to leave poverty and disease and suffering behind, to have a new life, hope for a better future, to start fresh in this new land that they thought they had discovered. And, God knows what they were told by their government and by their leaders. It was all a political game to a degree, from what I feel I can tell, and economic. And it's how the world works. There's nothing new under the sun, right? You constantly see different people groups conquering different people groups, be it the Romans, be it the Arabs, be it Africa shifting and changing, Europe. I mean, it's just even in our current day, right? The dynamics we have is in America, for example, in Europe, the way that cultures are shifted through immigration and all these different things, both through the people as well as the things that we export and import. And so we have these dreams. We want to go to the brave new world, but there's a demand that comes with it. And the wall of division gets higher, where it's us versus them, right? Oh, the Europeans versus the Native Americans, black versus white, you versus me. And we forget that this was supposed to be a brave new world. You want to fight, but you're all divided. It's not a world everyone can thrive in. And see, that's the key thing here. We say, oh, a brave new world. But is it true courage if it comes at the price of cutting one another down? And is it truly new if we just fall back into old ways? We left that land to have freedom from oppression of a king, right? Let's use England and America and that whole story again. Boston Tea Party, etc. You leave that land for whatever reason to be free from the monarchy, from taxation, from poverty and suppression or unemployment or whatever, right? Now back to a place where not everyone can thrive in, a world where not everyone can thrive in, i.e. the Native Americans who are losing their land. So it's so applicable not only to that story and that part of history, but our day to day, right? Where one person goes, you have to hear me and you have to treat me this way or call me this or hear me out. And there's validity to that, right? To be treated with compassion and inclusivity. But then the flip side of that is to tell the person you're asking inclusivity from, that you're demanding tolerance from. The other flip side is to tell that person, but you don't get to disagree with me. You should treat me with this way and I want to be included. And by demanding that of them, by force, you are excluding them from their freedom. You are not including them into freedom, right? You want your freedom, you want your tolerance, but you're telling that other person, not you per se, but we're telling the other person, you're not included in the tolerance, on the tolerance page. You need to tolerate me, I won't tolerate you. You're not included in the rights of freedom to agree or disagree. And some would argue, well, they've had their chance long enough, it's our turn now. But that's how the world works. How are we going to keep doing that? Your turn because it was my turn before, and now it's my turn again because you had your shot, right? And now it's our turn. It's like we're just ping-ponging back and forth, right? Until there's always this one person suppressing the other, one person crying for justice, always in a world where not everyone can thrive in. That is not the new world we're supposed to be aiming for. And of course, it's all theoretical, idealistic, because in practice, there's no way to get to that place where we can all balanced, equally have the perfect world. Is this the world we were meant to grow in? Somebody tell me where we are going. Powerful. A brave new world will rise. This is the chorus. If we do not act upon its lies. Oh, hold your tongues no more. Learn from all the ones who came before. Okay, see, so basically saying, hey, we can have this brave new world, but we have to learn from it. We have to learn from the past. Catch the wind and fight the storm. Ooh, poetic, beautiful. Through the fury, we're holding on. That kind of goes with what it said earlier about steerings in the wind. Take your time, but not too long. Make it worth the time you own. Oh my gosh, I love that. Take your time, but not too long, right? Like, this is not something that can be rushed, but also don't take too long because we don't have that much time. Make it worth the time you own because our time is limited. You woke a fire inside of me, fanned the flame and made it breathe, right? You give a fire air to breathe and it grows. You woke a fire inside of me, inside of me. Powerful, beautiful, poetic, a very meaningful way to look at some of those topics, and again applicable in micro on macro on and again applicable on micro and macro level, right? Personally for us, with the changes that occur, learning from our past, choosing life, doing better in our marriages, our families, and our careers, with what we listen to, what we surround ourselves with, both in how we treat one another, but also applicable in a societal level when we look at civilization and politics and history, right? And ensuring that history doesn't repeat itself on both sides of the scale, right? Sometimes we're so eager to go, oh, this is unjust, and we scream and we fight for those who seem to have been oppressed or who have been oppressed, or but then it's like I said, it has to go both ways. Ideally, it should be a brave new world that includes everybody, where we can just love one another and learn and grow. But that takes a lot of wisdom, and it takes time, and time is our rarest commodity, right? Because it takes wisdom to know what true love means. Love is kind and patient and long-suffering, but it isn't always to say yes to everything either, right? We know that when we're parents or when we are in a love relationship, love is also not just tolerating everything, right? It's a very, very interesting topic, but a beautiful song. Oh my goodness. And her voice and those musicians, great suggestion. Thank you for this. I hope you guys enjoyed this ride. Make sure to comment below, subscribe, check out Patreon, and buy me a coffee to say thanks. And I'll see you on the next ride. Ayo!